Good morning, good morning, good morning. Let me put this link on the Twitter for all of us that use it on the Twitter. All right, it's on the Twitter. I've got coffee and I've got a Magic 8-Ball. So let's chat. I don't have a lot of new things to report. I ran around to the team like I do every week, a little bit fanatically saying, hey, what do you need to talk about? What do you need to talk about? And everybody's like, we're kind of good right now, which one makes me a little nervous, but two, also it's the calm before the storm, right? Like we can anticipate as we get ready for graduation, the end of the year, turning materials back in, testing, there's going to be a whole onslaught of stuff coming up in the near future. Let me get this on Facebook as well. So I believe that we are sort of in the eye of the storm right now, and that we should enjoy hopefully a quiet rest of the week before we roll into what will undoubtedly be the hustle and bustle of June as we push into the summer. Join us live now for our weekly Q&A. Oh, not W. Q&A. A and W does sound good though. So if you got questions, go ahead and ask them. It's going to be free range questioning today. I mean, in general, sort of no holds barred kind of situation around here. I'll answer what I can. And let me pull up the weekly message. I hope everybody's doing fine on this. It's really beautiful outside on this Wednesday. So midweek update questions from Google. Wow, we got a lot. Let's see, a week ago would have been the 12th. And these all got asked after our session. So let me gray these out so that I don't answer those again. And here we go. Will students have to bring their own laptops next year, or will school ones be provided? What an outstanding question. Next year, my understanding is that the district is moving to a one-to-one model. Now, a lot of this is dependent purely on the district's ability to get devices into their own hands to get them set up for students. There's been a huge, as we've seen with fuel and lumber and paper and all these other things, the world supply chain is wonky right now. So it's the same for Chromebooks, and we're working on that. But the goal is, yes, that any student who needs a computer for school will be able to apply to get a Chromebook. Now, there are going to be some much tighter controls on that. Certain types of repairs will be allowed at some point. If devices get damaged too much, then students will become a daytime user where they'll just come to school and check out a computer. But we are working towards every student having, a Wake County computer if they want it. We obviously are still happy for students to bring their own devices. In a lot of cases, kids prefer that. There's some different tools and different things you can do on a personal device that you can't do on a school computer. All right, so what is the protocol for checking students out tomorrow for AP exams? I assume that means you have an afternoon exam, and so your student is going to come for first and second period. If your student does not drive, so for instance, if you've got to come pick up your student, you would just go to guest services and say, hey, but we also dismiss those students. Hold on, Ms. Barnes actually sent me this exact answer yesterday in email, and I have it, so now I just need to find it. It went out in a school messenger at like 10:45 yesterday. That's not it. This is it. For exams beginning in the afternoon, students are expected to attend first and second period, and they are excused from third and fourth period to get lunch, arrive home, and prepare for their exams. So feasibly, if you need to pick up your student, you can meet them outside at the end of second period. Second period, does it say second period or lunch? Students are expected to attend first and second period. So our lunch starts at 10:30, and the change to third period starts at 11:05. So the class change, your student could just meet you out front during the class change. That would be at 11. If you need to pick your student up between 10:30 and 11, you're going to want to go to guest services and sign them out per usual. Will there be an opportunity to share unused graduation tickets? Oh boy. Let me try and get an answer on that one. There's a lot to be had there. Let me finish you guys are asking. Man, I said ask any question you want. You guys came with some hard ones. Let me finish the Google form questions, and then I'll dive into the chat questions harder. If a student misses a Math 3 EOC, will their quarter 3 and quarter 4 grades get averaged as long as they have above a 60, they get credit towards graduation? Yes is the answer to that. But it's important to know that if you do not take the EOC, there are some other markers that travel with you, and that can affect things like driver's eligibility and whatnot as you go older. Because again, EOCs are a state testing program thing, and so that's going to be tied to a lot of state things. And driver's license eligibility is a state-defined thing. What happens if a student fails an EOC? Do the quarter grades get averaged so they pass as long as it's above a 60? My understanding is that the grade cannot hurt their grade. So if your student's quarter 3 and quarter 4 grades average to passing and they score worse than that on an EOC, then they will still pass the course. And we have in the past had students that failed the EOC and passed the course. That's not unheard of. How are parking spots for rising seniors going to work, or how do we sign up or apply? Oh, this is awesome. This is something I feel really great talking about. I'm going to go pull up the master calendar, which we are currently building. If I could spell calendar, that would help. So we're not quite ready to release the exact dates yet. But there is an event in August called Senior Kickoff. And among other things that happen that day, students will come here and enter the parking raffle. You'll show up that day. You'll need to bring a driver's license, certificate of, some insurance, your registration. It's a whole bunch of stuff. And you'll turn that in. And then we draw for parking spots on that morning. It is not a first come, first serve event, so you don't need to try and camp out in front of school the night before. That apparently was sort of in the ethos before I got here. So just show up on time, you wait in a line, you'll turn your stuff in. We'll do the draw once we've got everybody's information. But that's how parking for next year will work. That's a great question. Will asynchronous days remain a thing next school year? Yes-ish. My understanding is that the state legislated that every school district must schedule 5 remote learning days. It's also important to know that that legislation happened before COVID was a thing. So I am unsure what adjustments may be made at the state legislature level, considering that. I believe that the remote learning days were scheduled to help accommodate some of the weather class time losses. They made things a little bit more flexible to do remote learning. But my understanding, which might be wrong or it may have been updated, I'm sure, but at some point the state legislature had required every school district to schedule 5 remote learning days every school year. My understanding is that is still the case. The difference is with only 5 across a year, it's going to be much fewer and further between. It won't be an every other week situation like it has been this year. Another great question though. Are volunteers hours required for graduation? No. Unless you're an OCS student, in which case, yes, you do have to earn hours for graduation. An important distinction there. For Honors Math 3 EOC, can you bring your own calculator? Yes-ish, you can. It has to be a certain model type. It's really more like it can't be certain model types. Like you can't use a TI-89, I don't think. You can't use a TI-92. Some of those have functions that are beyond what they want for the test. But I would just talk to your teacher. If you have the same thing that we have in school, yes, you can. Your teacher will need to clear it. They'll have to reset the memory when you show up. But if you have your own parking spot, that's the next question. If you have your own calculator, I'd recommend bringing it if it's an allowable model. How will parking work on EOC days if we don't have a parking spot? What will be driving ourselves? Ooh. Let's find out. Can I ask you a question for the Facebook crew? Okay. How will parking work on EOC days if we don't have a parking spot, but we'll be driving ourselves? It's only those students on campus, right? Right on. That's what I thought. Cool deal. Thank you. All right, bye. Okay. The question is, how will parking work on EOC days if we don't have a parking spot, but we'll be driving ourselves? On EOC days, those are the only students that'll be testing. So if you need to drive to the EOC, do it. How can my child access the AP testing app from a school-issued Chromebook? Oh, I can show you. Please provide, man, somebody's watching and put a question in here right now. This is awesome. Please provide information regarding senior exemptions for final exams. I will ask that question in a minute. I want to, yes, sir. Yep. Oh, for next year. Right on. Okay, bye. And to revisit my parking question from earlier, Mr. Schiff has said that the instructions and applications for next year will be online starting next week. So keep an eye out for those. Let me do this AP testing thing real quick because I happen to have a Chromebook sitting right here. I think it's charged. I don't know. This is very rare because we have been, let me tell you, we have been running short on Chromebooks. This one got turned in by a student recently. The key to accessing the AP exam on a Wake County Chromebook is actually not to sign into it. It's a little counterintuitive. So again, if you have a Wake County Chromebook, it'll say Wake County Schools on it. And here we go. When you see the opening screen here, sorry, I know it's hard. Most students' reaction is to immediately sign in, but the real magic happens down here. There's a little button that says apps. And if you tap that, there's a whole list of things. And one of those is the ETS APCJ, which I believe is I think it's the AP testing app. So we're going to load it real quick. But what happens is those apps happen before the school login. This is either this or it's access testing for English. No, this is the AP test, and you enter your 6-digit AP code on that screen right there. So that's how you do it. It's before you sign in. And now it's not going to let me X out of that because that would be too easy. Okay. Anyway, that's that. Don't sign in. Use the apps button below before you sign in. That was a great question. Senior exam exemptions. Let us try and call one. 646 or 464. You'd think I'd have these memorized. It's 6464. 464. Ooh, lots of questions in the chat. Ooh. I will work on getting the information regarding senior exemptions. It's important to note that historically those have only applied to teacher-made exams. So if you have an EOC, seniors won't have an EOC or shouldn't have an EOC. But some seniors with a CTE exam, Microsoft Word and PowerPoint, business, ag, some of those courses do have exams, and because those are federal exams, students cannot be exempted from those. But we will work on getting that published in a formal way, because it's a great question. Will there be an opportunity for shared unused? We're going to ask. Hey, Miss King, how are you? I'm great. I got a question from the chat that I want to ask you. Okay. Will there be an opportunity to share unused graduation tickets? Yes, but the caveat is they can't transfer from one ceremony to another, right? Like if you have a ticket for this day at this time, you could give it to somebody else the same day at the same time, but you can't give them an extra ticket for a different ceremony. Okay, thank you. All right. So again, and man, somebody may have answered this. I always do a bad job of like seeing if these already got answered in the chat. So we'll get there. Some really great stuff further on. So we'll get down here. So opportunity to share unused graduation tickets. Yes, big asterisk on the end. We have 6 different ceremonies. And so if you are going to the 11 a.m. ceremony on June 9th, and there you don't use all your tickets, but there's a family who's in the same ceremony at 11 a.m. on June 9th, you can use that ticket in the same ceremony. You cannot say, hey, I'm not using this one, and then have them show up at a different ceremony. Each ceremony is capped with a very specific set of numbers. So yes, but it has to be very specifically for the exact same ceremony. Can we talk about graduation dress code? How strict are you about the footwear? Historically, pretty strict. Girls don't really wear closed-toed black shoes anymore. That's also correct. Do we really need to buy something they will only wear once? No, not necessarily. The person who I really want to ask is teaching class right now. But let's do this. I think they're going to have some senior info coming out and doing some senior meetings to discuss exactly this. But for the sake of parents, I will on next week's Facebook or YouTube Live, man, it's been a minute. I will try and get, because next week is an asynchronous day, I will see if I can get Miss Courtright, our graduation advisor, to come be a special guest and to talk and answer some frequently asked questions. So actually, as a favor, then I would ask you, anybody who's here, why is that taking so long? I'm going to put a link in the chat, and this is the Google form for questions. If you have any questions pertaining to graduation, if you would enter them on this form and maybe do me the favor of like starting off by saying graduation question, colon, and then ask your question, because then I'll be able to sort them all and have all the graduation questions together. If not, no worries. I'll read through them. But if you will ask any graduation questions you have in that form, I can at the very least make sure I get them answered, if not have a guest on next week. But in general, there is some flexibility there. We've seen a variety of shoes over the years, and we were less strict last year because it wasn't as big to do at the Civic Center. So I can't speak to that, not my rules really, but we can get that answer for you for sure. Will final exams negatively affect student grades if they perform poorly? No. And that's just good to know. So take the exam, try and do, see if it can move your grade positively. And if not, oh well. If my daughter drives, will she be able to leave, or will I need to write a note? If you're, I assume this is for the AP exam again. Sorry, I should have put those together. So if your student drives and has to leave for the AP exam, one, if they have an off-campus lunch pass, then they can leave at 10:30 when everybody leaves, and they can just drive home. That's fine. They'll be excused from third and fourth period. If they they drive and they don't have an off-campus lunch pass. That's pretty rare, but you could just call Ms. Cooper and say, hey, I need to check my daughter out. She's got to, or yeah, check my daughter out. She's got to come home for the AP exam, but doesn't have an off-campus pass. And then we would call the teacher and let them know. Yeah, Miss Douglas, that one was a doozy. How long does it normally take for ACT scores to come in? A hot minute. In a normal year, we take the ACT in February, and those scores come in like now. Ain't nothing normal. So I don't know, but let me take some notes here. And ACT score timeline. Right on. Let's see here. Confused by the email regarding MYP hours. We were told it would be experiences and writing only, and then received an email stating hours were expected to be recorded by tomorrow. I would just send an email to Ms. Haddock. I'll put her email down here in the chat. She's an MYP coordinator, and she can certainly clarify that for you. No worries. So the MYP experiences versus volunteer hours is something that we had been working on shifting. We had been working on shifting away from pure hours, the quantity, to a more quality reflective experience. Because we've had a few kids who like have some incredible opportunities, and then they don't do a great job at that because it can only get them 7 or 8 or 10 hours, but they need 20. And so we really want kids to invest. And it's hard because it looks like the experiences was due to COVID, which it kind of was. It accelerated our process. But in the end, we are trying to find a community engagement experience that is more reflective and really authentic to kids being engaged in their community. So again, we'll have more communication coming out. We're trying to be really sensitive to what is and isn't flexible outside right now. So there will be that outside community connection requirement. What it looks like exactly, I'm not sure of, but I can tell you we are trying to move away from the pure 20 hours of community service. Good morning. I was wondering, can any rising ninth grader sign up for something? Yep. No, any ninth grader can sign up for summer extended learning. And you should if you want to. We have about 150 kids signed up right now. Maybe that's more than maybe it's only 125, but it's over 100. It's going to be a really fun group of kids. So if you've got a rising ninth grader, I tell band parents all the time, even if you don't do marching band, but your first year, doing marching band for 1 year is a great way to get in, have band camp, make some friends, and be in the school building before the first day of high school, which can be really scary. So the summer extended learning for rising ninth graders is incredibly valuable. You get to be in the building, you get to meet teachers, you get to make friends before the first day of school. I think it's going to take a lot of anxiety off of kids. And to be quite honest, in some ways, I wish the state would fund some sort of orientation camp like that more frequently. I think that would be a really powerful experience for our freshmen. Oh, thanks for the assist, Ms. Petzold. Question about AP testing. My child stayed home today because his test is at 12 p.m. But I'm a little confused how they're supposed to be doing their classes prior to the test if they're home. So sorry, let's see. That went out yesterday. There was some confusion about that. So we sent out a school messenger yesterday about 10:45. In general, if students have a noon AP exam, students are expected to come, if they're plan A, right? They'll come to school for first and second period and then leave at lunch or after second period. It's complicated because of everything we've got going on right now. But in general, they should do their first 2 classes here on campus if they're a plan A student, and then go home. If they're a remote student, if they're a virtual academy student, they would just log in to their class the way they normally have before their AP exam. Ms. Douglas asks, how full is the 4 p.m. Thursday graduation? I actually don't have any idea at all. Nor do I have any idea of if we're going to do extra ticket raffles. Normally, we do have a process where families can request another ticket or two. If Ms. Douglas, if you can add that to that Google form, I'll make sure we get that answered for next week for sure. How many students are signed up for Virtual Academy at Millbrook next year? Not many. A little over 100, I think. And then what that means is there's going to be way less flexibility with electives and classes that are offered. Virtual Academy really is going to be like, here are classes you get to graduate. It's not going to be, you get to choose all these fun electives and these extension courses and stuff like that, because we're just not going to be able to support that in the Virtual Academy with the small staff the Virtual Academy is going to demand. So yeah, Virtual Academy has gone from roughly 50% of the school this year to where next year it's looking like it's going to be about 8 to 10%. No, I did that math entirely wrong. 4 to 5%. Half that, because it's 20. Yeah, that's right. 4 to 5% of the school is looking to be in Virtual Academy next year. Alrighty, it is 8:56. I'm going to check the Google form one more time. Oh, yes, awesome. Graduation questions getting dropped in there. That is awesome. If you've got any questions, I'm going to go ahead and do a last call for questions in the chat. I've got a 9 o'clock meeting coming up, so I've got to hustle and get ready for that. But as always, follow-up question for the AP testing. My son is Plan A, but stayed home. Didn't realize he was supposed to go in today with a 12 p.m. test. Does he need to come? Yeah, I would have him just email his teachers and say, hey, I had a noon AP exam. Stayed home because of that. What do I need to make up? And, I think if they're upfront like that, most teachers will be like, okay, great, thanks. Please do X, Y, and Z, and you'll be fine. Especially because we're just getting ready to roll into second period. So have them email a second period teacher and say, hey, I'm here. I stayed home because I have an AP test coming up. What can I do? And that should be functional at the least. Great question, though. As always, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week. Let's look at the weather. What's the rest of the week look like? No, go away, Siri. I like you fine, but oh man, it's going to get hot. 90s and sunny. Don't forget to water your plants. Doesn't look like there's going to be a lot of rain. Where do rising ninth graders sign up for summer extended learning? I don't know if signups are. Ms. Alawak, if you will email me, let me put my email in here real quick. I will forward your question to our summer learning team. And I don't know if signups are over or not. I don't think so, but I am unsure. If you'll email me your student's name and stuff like that, then we can certainly send that on to the team who is managing summer learning and try and get you the answers you need. Special shout out to PTSA. If you haven't gotten to see the front of the school recently, there's been some, is extreme the right word? Maybe not, but I will say substantial facelifting done to the sort of front landscaping of the building. And I was blown away. I hadn't noticed it until I turned around yesterday walking back in the building from the parking lot. It's going to be, especially in 3 years when some of those things are fully grown, it's going to be really stunning. But again, shout out to the PTSA. One of the best ways to support your kids and teachers here at Millbrook is to join the PTSA and be a partner in that work. We love you all, and we will talk to you very soon. Have a great day.